I spent the last 3 months going around the island, eating the best Hokkien Mee this country has to offer. And these are the ratings that I gave. It was hard to stay big picture objective when the ceiling seemed to be pushed a little higher every week. So our first order of business today is some moderation. Fortunately or unfortunately, because everyone is so good, I'm going to have to painfully take down 3 places from the 3 noodles tier list. The first is Yongheng fried squid prawn mee. Super delicious, but the loose gravy and pale noodles made it stray a little too far from my idea of a Hokkien Mee. Please don't get me wrong, it's still a strong 2 noodles, and I would eat it every day of the week. It physically hurts the foodie in me to be bringing down food like this, but this is not a Gen Z sports day, not everybody gets to win. The second place to be joining the 2 noodles tier list is Youfu fried Hokkien Mee. And for kinda the same reason. It tastes too much like a seafood bihun compared to my idea of a Hokkien Mee. Will I visit them again? Definitely, especially with how likely they are to improve. But until then, they are a solid 2 noodles. And lastly, the last place to be joining the 2 noodles tier is Yongheng fried sotong prawn mee. I lost my objectivity because of how nostalgic the noodles made me feel. And also, there was something that I struggled with, even in my previous series. And that is, just because something doesn't have a miss, does not mean it's perfect. Everyone can play it safe and not make mistakes, but if you want to win, you're gonna have to be making moves. And that's it! I rewatched all the videos in the series and stared at this list all week long, and I'm happy with it. Next, let's move on to the awards. Unlike the previous series, there aren't like 8 awards to give because there is no service, no like things like value point. I also want to reiterate that all these awards are based on my idea of a Hokkien Mee. I believe a great Hokkien Mee conflicts an intense crustacean flavor with a luxurious lard flavor so that they can elevate each other like a healthy, ambitious couple, both improving in stride and pushing each other to be better. The fallout of such a conflict then hides in the thick gravy that coats the noodles, so that the eater experiences a seemingly impossible level of flavor, one that is well melded and cohesive, a flavor that stands uniquely as the Hokkien Mee flavor. We ate the version that the descendants of the Hokkien Mee had to offer, but respectfully, this is my idea of the most authentic tasting Hokkien Mee. The nominees are Yongheng fried sotong prawn mee, Sui Guan Hokkien Mee, and Eng Ho fried Hokkien Mee. Winner of the most authentic tasting Hokkien Mee goes to Sui Guan Hokkien Mee. Impeccably melded flavor, delivered in the creamiest noodles of the series, decorated with all the frills like Chinese chives, bean sprout, and wok hei from the charcoal stove. It is hard to keep up with tradition when the world wants to move on, when people don't like chives or bean sprouts anymore, when using a gas stove saves you so much money. Truly, respect for sticking to their ways. But there is also merit and skill to changing your dish to cater to the market's demand. The dry version was a relatively new way to enjoy the dish, and to speak plainly, it's like fighting with one hand behind your back. To achieve the dry version, you are always going to use less stock than a wet version, and thus, it's almost impossible to keep up with the level of flavor. We only had a handful of dry versions in this series, and one stood out, serving the best dry version I had. And that place is Hainan fried Hokkien Mee. There is a certain level of satisfaction when you are able to wolf down such light and airy noodles without it being overbearing or cloy. The next award is a special one, and it goes to a place that has pioneered their own signature dish. No other place in the series, or perhaps in the country, serves a Hokkien Mee like theirs. They made me think that Hokkien Mee had another category, but what's the point of having another category when there's only one example in it? The One of One award goes to Simon Road Hokkien Mee. Their dry version is worthy to be called a signature dish. Light, airy, full of flavor with just the right amount of oiliness. I had an idea of a dry Hokkien Mee, and I'm very grateful that they brought it to life. If I had met them earlier, maybe I would have gone deeper in my MasterChef run. Previously on Eldrick's Life, he tried to make a Hokkien Mee fried rice on MasterChef Singapore, but he crashed and burned on national TV. He couldn't figure out how to make a wet dish like Hokkien Mee into a definitively dry and airy dish like fried rice. The answer, as he would find out years later, was to use less but more intense broth for cooking the rice, extend the frying duration to encourage evaporation, and supplement the flavour with oiliness, preferably some prawn-infused lard. Alternatively, he could also not choose a dish that he never made before for the biggest stage he has ever cooked on, and is clearly not suited for the 40 minutes time frame. Unfortunately, Eldrick was not a smart man. And now, the moment that it all comes down to. We have tried some delicious Hokkien Mee in the series, and it was extremely difficult to narrow it down to our top 3. Even within this top 3, I could make a case for any of them to be the best Hokkien Mee in Singapore. But how can I give out the award when I haven't experienced any of the Hokkien Mees in their true form yet? The best Hokkien Mee appears when you order takeaway and allow for 100% absorption of the stock into the noodles. Sure, you pay a small price for having the noodles bloat, but that is more than worth it for the resulting flavour. Not only that, when it is cooled down, the flavours are allowed to redistribute evenly, giving that more melded Hokkien Mee flavour. This is also why leftover soups or curries always seem to taste nicer the next day. We then drizzle some lime and chili into our noodles, give it a mix, and we have ourselves something truly spectacular. So, right here, right now, we are going to determine the best Hokkien Mee in Singapore. Let's get it, people. There was an idea to make it a blind taste test, but I have been looking at Hokkien Mees for the past 3 months, hours and hours of editing, that I can probably tell a Hokkien Mee's astrology sign from looking at it. These are my top 3s in their final form. The lime and chili are already mixed in. Anyway, let's start with Xiao Di. Tapao Hokkien Mee is just different. I don't taste any one taste anymore. It's all melded together. Okay. I need to stop. Let's move on to Come Daily. It's funny because eating Hokkien Mee like this, right? It makes me feel as though I'm eating the Hokkien Mee for the first time. Now that the flavors are more melded together, you will taste the aggregate flavor of all the different components. And that taste in itself is just another entirely different beast. And lastly, Sui Guan. This is the hardest choice I've had to make in all of the series. The previous series, like with the fried chicken, burger, and steak, the winner has been somewhat clear. But today, Come Daily and Sui Guan are neck and neck. With Sui Guan, all of the flavors are expected, but the creamy texture of the noodles, which was the highlight when I was having it there, has now turned the noodles a bit too cakey. Starch when heated up gelatinizes, but when it cools down, it retrogradates into like a tougher, cakier texture. So the Sui Guan that I'm having right now is not as good as the one I had there. Whereas Come Daily, with its 3 prominent flavors that I detected when I was there, has now formed one cohesive flavor. The noodles does bloat up as expected, but it's not at the level as Sui Guan. Sui Guan has that signature alkaline taste which I like for Hokkien Mee. Come Daily doesn't, which will appease a lot of people. Sui Guan has bigger prawns, more ingredients. Come Daily has nearly twice the amount of noodles for the same price. I think I got it. Winner of the best Hokkien Mee in Singapore goes to Swee Guan Hokkien Mee. Objectively, I could list all the pros of both sides and they would be neck and neck, both scoring really high scores. Like, we are talking about not a single miss for both these plates. I would be happy to recommend either of these Hokkien Mees to anyone. But if I had to choose a best Hokkien Mee for my series, for my idea of a Hokkien Mee, I have to choose what I like. And I like the yellow noodles taste and the smoky scent, the more aggressive flavor profile of Swee Guan. A lot of people don't like that taste, that ghee taste, in which come daily is your answer. But if tomorrow I woke up and I receive a call from Grab saying that they're gonna sponsor me a Hokkien Mee lunch from anywhere in Singapore, I would choose Swee Guan over come daily. So yeah, my best Hokkien Mee in Singapore is Swee Guan Hokkien Mee. And that concludes the series. Woo! A big thank you to all of the hawkers who cooked for me, thank you very much. And also a big thank you to you all for watching, commenting and recommending the places to me. If you would like to support the channel further, I just enabled YouTube memberships. There, I have a poll going on for members for what series you guys would like to see next. Super thanks are also open if you guys want to subsidize some of the food costs. Of course, only support if you're comfortable too. Your watch time is already the biggest contribution to the channel. Also, I summarized all of the places that we visited in a Google spreadsheet. I'll leave the link in the description if you guys want to check it out. Next week, I'll be taking all I learned from this series back to the kitchen to make my very own version of Hokkien Mee. But for now, that's all I have for you guys this time. I'll see you on the next video. Bye!